His name's Jack Campbell, former Marine officer. I'm currently general partner for Signal Bay.
Diversified game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, this is going to be a story that whether you are a young man thinking about maybe going to college or the Marines, or maybe you say, should I be the next Bitcoin trillionaire, right? Jack is going to give us some game on how he went from the Marines to investment and big money investment. I'm gonna let him tell it so I don't have him get like 100 more cousins and aunts and uncles asking him for a loan. But Jack, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Doing good, Colin. Thank you so much, man. It's a fun time here, a couple of days before Christmas. So, we still got to be working though. You know what I mean? So we're getting the mix on it. And thank you so much for taking the time to have me. This is gonna be a fun time. So yeah, overall doing well on my end.
Well, tell us, about the story because what I read, and I'm going to let the people know, I read, Marine to, managing more than $20 million worth of finance. And it's like, someone's like, how do you do that? Sign me up for that. And, so how did we get there?
To that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess a little bit of background on me is so went to college. I was gonna definitely do the military after. They have these programs called ROTC. So I was on track to do the military after college, but I had kind of that so this is around 2019 graduation. I'm 28 years old now. And what ended up happening for me is I had this lung collapse. So I had a medical issue where I was medically forced out of the military for a short period until I could get waived back in. But at that point, I ended up working in finance and kind of got this finance bug a little bit. So for about a year there, I was working at an investment bank or a little under that. But I was a year off between then and the military. And then COVID hit. I'm back in the Marine Corps. I got medically waived to get into it. So I was able to do it. And the whole COVID kind of market crash occurred. Now, a lot of guys, I'm sure maybe in your audience have seen, Roaring Kitty on, Wall Street Bets, talk about AMC, GameStop, crypto. That's kind of when a lot of that stuff came into the mix. And there's people who made a lot of money. There's people who got burned making, putting $10,000 into that and losing 90%. For me, my story was a little different because I had that at least a decent amount of financial literacy to see kind of what was going on under the hood. And functionally, we turned about 130,000 into $6 million. Personally, we had some other people make some money as well, kind of doing the same thing. But and now here in 2025, I personally manage we're kind of around $16 million is where I'm at, and assets under management for other groups that we've worked at. We're closing a SPV now for 10 million pilot. We'll go to 20 million. So worked with deal flow over about 75 million and kind of fell into it, got very, luck's a huge part of it. But I think there was more to the kind of the nuances of why I made that decision to buy the thing that I did at that time. So it wasn't the GameStop, it wasn't the MC. We weren't necessarily gambling. There's definitely risks, but there's a way to get to that kind of, millionaire path track record faster than the Dave Ramsey, put all your money away into, the S&P 500, have no debt. And by the time you're 65, you'll be worth, a couple $1 million in your retirement account. We're not advocating against it. And we're saying that there is a different path to actually break out earlier. So that's kind of the rough overview. Yeah.
You've tried it your way, but you're still in debt. Or maybe you're doing okay, but want to invest smarter, grow faster. Millionaire.x.ai gives you real step-by-step strategies to ditch debt or stack wealth. Stop dreaming and start planning. Visit Millionaire.x.ai today. I want you to be the next millionaire next door.
You said a magic word, Dave Ramsey. I tell people,
Yeah.
for most people, because most people, they tell me are average, and we say average is for losers over here. But I'm told that's a mean thing. But for most people, Dave's plan you know, they can follow it. They're gonna not be broke as long as they live within their means. What you're talking about in alternatives, what do you think you have to have? Because again, you are disciplined being a Marine. Anybody in the armed forces disciplined, I say, more than the average. But the Marines, they teach you only a few things I'm heard. And I'm not going to say one of them because I don't want to put that jacket on you. But one of them is discipline.
And no, I get you. No, it's a very fair point, and I think one of the things that is both cool about Dave Ramsey, because we'll talk about him as kind of the mainstay, right? What he says is great because it's very hard to refute. And what I mean by that is, don't take on a bunch of credit card debt. I don't think that's a good thing either. Basically pay with things in cash. When you have assets, you're saving those and putting them into, because his whole thing is index funds. Don't be thinking we need to be guessing anything. Just park it away and you'll be good. And it's very hard to fight that because what he's saying is functionally very true, at least historically. And my kind of argument is that, for guys like us, younger guys, girls, whatever it is in our, 20s into our 30s, what worked for the baby boom generation isn't going to work for us. And I think we all can feel that. Whether it's the median home value rising is now it costs eight times salary to buy a median home right now, when baby boomers were paying 3x their salary, meaning they bought a home for $70,000 back in the 70s. That today is $400,000 for a median home in the US. And that we can all kind of feel it. And so unfortunately and fortunately is, a lot of young people are like, well, I don't want to call them get rich quick schemes, but putting a bunch of money into, crypto coins or shit coins, whatever they call them, the meme coins, and they get burned doing that. And I'm sure with like AMC, if you bought AMC before everyone heard about it, you probably were a roaring kitty and could turn 50,000 into $10 million or more. The problem is so many people were buying that as opposed to $5 a share or $3 a share, they're buying it at 100, 150 when the valuation support there was just purely gambling. It was just speculative at that point. So, and which is the same for the crypto coins. So there is kind of this middle ground between that level of gambling and the Dave Ramsey model that I think we all know in our hearts isn't going to work necessarily the same for us. Having $4 million by the time we're 65, that's cool, but I don't think that's going to carry the same weight that the baby boomer today with $4 million complaining about selling their home for 1.8 million as opposed to 2 million when they bought it for 70,000 back in the day. You know what I mean? So we have these different problem sets for younger guys, especially people getting in the mix now. And how do we kind of shoot that silver bullet and find the middle path is something I think is at least been, what I've been looking at doing. And with guys I work with, that's kind of our view. So yeah. Does that make sense?
So
It
makes sense. And I guess the audience would say, so I don't want to lose anybody saying, well, I am just trying to make it right now. So is there a program or something you can tell me, like Dave says, where if I put my money in this, I may get a return? Because you guys, nothing is guaranteed.
No.
Which nobody says is guaranteed. We don't know what's going to happen with anything. Only God knows. But do you have a program or something where you can show people, or maybe it's online as well? Please send and let us know the YouTube if so. But how they can tap in if they are just getting by, but maybe they got beer money. Maybe they got an extra car payment money. What do you have for them?
Yeah, for sure. So currently it's, I've never been a big social media guy, but I've been working on building it out a little bit. So we're starting, but it's at Jack Campbell Finance on Instagram. And I am working on, we're working on a book right now that we'll be coming out with shortly. So I'll follow that up, the info with that. That should be getting published here in the next couple months. So those are really the two main things. As for courses or how do people get plugged in, that isn't really necessarily my pitch. My thing is more kind of steering people into different types of modes of thought when it comes to, historically, it's the early Warren Buffett model is what I like to say. Is it's not Warren Buffett as we know him today, but who was he for that first $100 million that he had? So that has Michael Burry. We all know him as the Big Short guy. He's done a lot of great stuff. I push people towards. He just came out with a Substack actually, which is a really, really good one. But this is what we're advocating for is for value investing as opposed to gambling or speculation where we're chasing these stock charts. And it can be very complicated, or it can be pretty simple, just depending on where you are getting on the on-ramp. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely more to come on that, but I would say let's start with Jack Campbell Finance and on Instagram, and that can kind of lead us into some of the introductory level framework. This is it's exciting stuff, but I'm not the social media guy. I'm just getting into it, so it's been kind of fun for me to even see it. So yeah.
Well, that makes me like you even more because most of the
Yeah.
people on social media are saying something that's either not true, not
Yeah.
research, not, it's just fluff just for likes. And anybody could say that. I can say right now, man, the helicopter's going to get me up. The helicopter, I got enough land back here, could actually land here in Palm Beach County. But guess what? How does that help you guys? And you might not want a helicopter. You may not need it. Mine has guns on it. So, but you talk about wealth is not it's a formula. It's not the lottery. Go into what you're seeing working for those who are maybe even under 35, 40, and why retirement you feel is a scam. And what that means, because I want people to really hone in, because currency is changing, and we haven't even got to AGI. When we get to ASI, you guys forget about it.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And the changes with artificial intelligence right now is a huge part. As we know, we call it in the US, and pretty much every currency out in the free world is a fiat currency, meaning nothing is backed by gold, right? This is backed by the faith and credit of the US government, which we also saw they printed, I think, an additional couple $1 trillion just during COVID. So we've all seen the inflation effects. You go to the grocery store today versus 5 years ago, we're kind of like, whoa, it's a lot more expensive. And that is affecting people at the ground level very much so, just on buying things. So yeah, I mean, the thing I would say that Dave is onto something is this rainy day fund is super important. And what I mean by that is it can be anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000, kind of free of credit card debt. Like, so whatever someone's job is, we want to have anywhere sitting in a money market account or a yield savings account for about 5,000 to 15,000. That's important because things happen. Your mom gets sick. There's you lose a job. There's this refrigerator breaks. That amount of money is probably a decent amount of a buffer point. And that really is what we should be targeting for. But outside of that, really pretty quickly, I think people should be moving into their IRAs or setting up an IRA. I'm going to be doing a video here soon on exactly how to do that for oneself, with like Charles Schwab, for example. And because the IRA money for a Roth IRA for a young person, I think it's about $7,000, 6,000 to 7, that you can be contributing for it. And that is kind of a tax-free instrument for savings. But beyond that, that's really where we kind of get into more kind of my realm, where it's a crawl, walk, run, right? Like, we can't just immediately jump into this, but once we have a little bit of a buffer, we've cleaned up hopefully credit card debt, we can start making these kind of concentrated investments where, as opposed to buying the S&P 500, or as opposed to buying the the meme coin or that cryptocurrency, there are companies out here in the US today, some even international, that are definitely due to be blowing up over the next 5 to 10 years. And we can get a little bit into the thesis more, but I'm going to stop there for any questions on the front end that you got, Kellen.
Well, I'm glad that you talked about the IRA. I know there'd be, that one or two person who says, well, I can't do an IRA, but you can do a backdoor Roth, go get your financial advice from the professional you're paying, because you're not paying Jack or I. We're just throwing out ideas of what's worked for us or what we've seen work with other people. Tell them though, are you licensed? If they want to hand you any money to, do anything, as people say, will you handle my Forex? Will you handle? No, I'm not licensed for any of that. I can't handle any of that.
No, I get you. Yeah, I mean, so the industry works is they're called fiduciary responsibilities, right? And so the fund structures that we run, they're actively non-fiduciary. What does that mean? basically the clients that we work with, or like guys that are investing in any of our funds, they're accredited investors. So this is where it's kind of this weird thing where, we're talking about this stuff, to the audience here. And, these accredited investors, they're those that are qualified. They have over $2 million in assets. They're making more than a couple $100,000 a year. They are already able to have kind of more of that risk on stuff. So a lot of them are institutional funds, high net worth individuals that are able to basically legally sign by the U.S. SEC code to be more risk on. But for the audience, a lot of them, people just starting out, getting in the mix. There's this, they want to have maybe a fiduciary individual overseeing their account. But my argument is that they can actually do that themselves with very little understanding, and they don't need to be giving up these management fees to some guy working at Charles Schwab and taking, a couple $100 a year from, money they've made and put in their account. So definitely I'm going to be pushing a video out about that, and I can, I'll be sending out some more information on how to set it up, but really just going to Schwab and going through the paperwork and saying, yep, I want a Roth IRA. Yes, I want to have the option to backdoor it. Remember to do it. You can set up auto pulling it from your checking account and filling up that $7,000 a year. And from there, we can kind of start going off to the horses or the race horses about, figuring out how to actually deploy that. But it's a lot easier than the industry wants people to think. And I found that out, earlier on, but these financial professionals, man, a lot of them just, oh, I'm going to buy some mutual fund for you. I'm going to be taking 200% basis points on management fees, and they don't actually care about their clients and their money. So that is, it's a dog eat dog world out here. And it is sad to see how average people are giving up a lot of money in fees just to professionals that don't actually really care about them. It's kind of fascinating. So yeah.
What did you have to do to get the trust of people? And, and give us, that kind of walk down of, was it because I knew someone, and how much of being a Marine and having that title, and that rank that you had, do you think played into that?
Ready to dominate your industry with strategy that actually scales? At Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm, we're not just PR experts, we're licensed sports agents certified in AI and elite business consultants with over 2 decades of experience leading global projects across multiple countries. Visit cprfirm.com, that's colemanprfirm.com, and millionairex.ai, then download the Millionaire X app, your AI-powered guide to getting out of debt, investing smarter, and building generational wealth. Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm. It's a family business. It's different.
It's a good question. So because it's a non-standard path, what worked for me isn't what works for everybody. I think for me, part of it was largely being at the right place, right time at the front end with that initial turning 130 into about 6 million. I think for me, the Marine Corps definitely had a huge part to play in it, but more than that, it was, what I've done since then, meaning our, annualized rate of return right now, we're making roughly the last 2 years 130% with this strategy year over year. So $100,000 starting 2 years ago is about $341,000 today, before taxes. And so that is, you do that enough time, it's kind of, we call it like a push versus pull strategy. I'm not pushing like, hey, invest in my thing. Hey, I should be your guy for this. It's more like, oh, I'm pulling. And if you find that this is something that's interesting to you, we can work with it, especially for the accredited. But yeah, so it hasn't, what for a lot of guys in this industry, they're constantly going to networking events. Some person really took a chance on them, some big fun guy, and gave them a bunch of money. For us, it's been more like it's taken a couple years, but now, it's finally kind of coming into the mix where, people are starting to notice, people see the results, and they're more inclined to give, or to be interested in investing capital into our stuff. So very much, they're coming to us less than us pushing to them that they need to do our thing. So yeah,
That's a beautiful thing, dude.
it is
beautiful.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
that's where you want to be, and you still got, ages and ages to need to perfect it. With success, people hear, success, and they're like, okay, you're making money. Everybody says what they're gonna do once they become successful, and the best is yet to come for you, definitely. But what's a community give back that you're doing or that you would like to do, and how could the community, help you do that, if so?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think right now, part of the whole initiative for me even doing this in my mind was, because we're not selling a product, we're not pushing a course. This isn't really something where we're monetizing this, if you will. A lot of this is just to kind of, get general higher level financial literacy, because I'm sure it's the same, Callan, for you. It was for me, where we were being taught in school about what a profit and loss statement is. We're not talked about the Roth. We're not being told what a Roth IRA is. Maybe we heard it from work. Maybe once we, either get out of high school, we're going into the job marketplace, we go into the military, and then we come out the other end, or college. Most people, even those who study business, really have no idea how the capital accounts that we can be setting up for ourselves actually work, operate. And so a lot of this is, the giving back part is just, in my mind, increasing financial literacy. So having conversations about it that are really no bullshit. This is what's going on in the mix. Part of it's introductionary, like we're doing now, of just saying, hey, there's different voices out there that, are coming at this problem from a different problem set. Something I've noted that really pissed me off a little bit, that made me want to do more of this, was there's these guys that will sell courses, and then, oh, this is how we, 10x, this is how we get to the next level. And then you find out, oh, actually, they make most of their money just from selling you courses than actually doing the thing themselves. And so I find that there's a lot of these, get rich quick schemes, or I don't know what necessarily to call them, but it's not actually what we're talking about. A lot of them is just saying, hey, they're making their money off of you paying them for the course. And so for me, it was very much just, how do we improve financial literacy? It's something we all need to do. And I think over the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to be in a position where I think, unfortunately, it's going to be substantially more complicated. Like you said, ASI, AGIs is one of the big things coming, where a lot of these software jobs, a lot of entry-level white-collar jobs are going to be automated. That adds a level of pressure. And so we want to get people on ramps, kind of like what, happened for me and for other people I know, where they can improve their financial literacy and actually kind of feel like they're getting ahead, as opposed to constantly being behind. So that's kind of the main thing that we're focusing on now.
I love it. I love it. And you guys, when he's talking about those courses, you could name a person. I always find it funny, the person who's like, and they all come to me at some point, and they'll say, hey, I'm rich, I'm wealthy, my kids, my even unborn kids don't have to work, retired my mom, but they keep selling you something. And it's like, hold on, I'm not opposed to you selling something, but don't say you got like more money than Buffett or, this person. I sell stuff too. I got a book. I sell it all day. I show my kids how we travel, and I make books out of them. You'll see a commercial somewhere through here, you guys, about it. But I'm not going to tell you writing a book makes you rich. Ask 𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿. He had a bestseller. He was still working, and he breaks down why. You got to read his first book to find out. But,
Hello, everyone. Come along with London and Sydney as they show you around the vibrant country of Cameroon. We explore the heart of Africa through the eyes of London and Sydney. Two explorers who journey across the great city of 𝐿𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞, exploring its rich culture, vibrant market squares, cultural heritage, and wildlife. With giggles and excitement, London and Sydney Explore Cameroon takes you on a fun-filled adventure, providing insight into the country's culture and traditions through the pages of this book. It's packed with exciting stories and super cool facts about Cameroon that will make you go, wow. Get your copy. Available on Amazon and in libraries near you. There's only one easy way to experience the exploration of Cameroon, and it's through London and Sydney. Don't wait, get yours.
But you got a product though. You got a product though. That's the thing. I want to talk about this. You have a book, and yours there's a tangible thing. A lot of people, they're just selling this hype stuff. It's more for that. You have an actual product that is a real, a real thing. I'm excited. I'm going to go ahead and get it too. I want to read that. So
Thank you. I have a slew of these children's books. We have a publishing company because I wanted to be John Grisham as a kid. And so if I'm going to write books, I'm not waiting for somebody to write me a check. I'm going to go make my check and do what I do. So let me ask you though, 28, you still got a great hairline. So I'm assuming you are married.
Yeah, you're not going to see me in Turkey quite yet getting the hair transplant, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you still a single guy, or have you been able to put a family and complete your life with kids and the blessing of that as well?
Oh, for sure. That's definitely in the mix coming down the road. I have a girlfriend now. It is hard when so I got out of the Marine Corps a couple years ago, and getting in the dating scene. I'm out here in Austin, Texas, and most of my friends have girlfriends. We're kind of at that mix where I think people are really starting to get more serious about it. So for me, that is definitely in the purview. Highly, recommend, having kids. I don't have them yet, but that's definitely in the mix here in the not so distant future, getting married, doing that whole thing. So I completely support what you're saying. No, I support what you're saying there, because we definitely need more kids, man. I'm telling you, just generally speaking in society, I think our birth rates are like 1.7, and yeah, so we need people having more kids. Let's put it that way.
We definitely do. But I just say, because it's a blessing, and you will make more money if you pick right. You'll make way more money. It's just something about that consistency. But I say pick right, because the wrong person can bankrupt you, and they do all type of weird things. But you're in Austin, where you guys keep things weird anyway. So
yeah, you're right about that, man, dude. I'm telling you. So it's a fun place, and it's good. So yeah, overall things are going great on that end. You're right though about that. It's finding a good partner, one that's actually there to build with you, I think is probably the most important thing that I've seen, because the alternative can be so messy, as I'm sure you have experience with people, knowing people, we all do, where that they went the other way, and it really sets them on a path that was not necessarily good for them or the person that they married. So completely agree with you on that.
Look at it like a business, and look at it like the mob look like it without the snitching that's going on the podcast now. Once you're married to the mob, you got my secret, you can't go. Is that a threat? No, it's a promise. You can't go. But yeah, but are you from Austin?
No, so not from Austin. All the family lives out, not all of it, but a lot of the family lives here in the West Austin area, kind of like hill country is what we call it. So it's good. We got cousins down in San Antonio, family up in Minnesota. Way back in the day, they were originally out of Oklahoma. So kind of all over the place, but for the most part, middle America. Yeah, so it's good. It's been a good thing, I think. For Minnesota, Austin, or for Oklahoma, places like that, when you make money, you kind of get out. You don't want to be in the cold. Oklahoma, I mean, historically, we've got a lot of family still there, and that's it's a good place. But I think Austin attracts definitely younger professionals, people that are trying to do these 0 to 1 kind of builds, and so being in a place where there's a lot more interchange is something I found to be pretty helpful. But yeah, I mean, you can do this really anywhere though, for the most part. That's what I love about big capital markets, is you can set up a brokerage account in Thailand. I don't really care. You know what I mean? And you can be investing in the US marketplace. So it is location agnostic. And so, yeah, where people live, well, I like it here. I think there's a lot of other places that are due to grow substantially, and there's other places that aren't, and that's okay, and that's fine, because what we're doing is agnostic of where you live, for money, for that standpoint. So yeah.
There's very few cities like Austin. It's the California. I say it's the Berkeley. I lived in Lubbock. I lived in Lubbock for 6 years. Wait, was it 6? Maybe it was 4 to 5. It was too long, but my wife wants to go to med school, and she goes to med school where it's the best price. So, but I say,
baby.
yeah. But being in that, hub, there's a lot of things that you see that somebody may not see in even a love book. Can you give some advice, some tips to that person of maybe thinking about going to college or military? What would you say to study? What should they be reading? What conferences should they be going to?
Right. So the traditional like academic model is a really interesting one. And what I mean by that is I think for a lot of people who service doing the armed services in any capacity is something that definitely allows people to grow up quicker. So if they're 18 years old, I highly recommend considering it or going to college and doing the ROTC path and being an officer at the other end. There are programs that college counselors can talk to about doing it. I think a lot of guys get out of the military and because they grew up so quickly with their life experiences there, they have this inherent, ability to kind of step up into the in life as opposed to taking that 4 years of kind of, partying, kind of just, hanging out in college, doing whatever degree they are. Now they're, people with that 22-year-old with 4 years of military experience, they are a pretty interesting individual with a lot more life experience than their peer group. So I do recommend that. But as for the academic stuff, I mean, the thing I would recommend is, it's, it becomes more difficult, but the STEM stuff, anything that is a technical skill is still going to largely be required. We're thinking math is a great background, economics, sciences, hard sciences are probably pretty good, but if not that, and I'm not saying you have to do that, but what we really should be doing in college is developing critical thinking skills. That's really the main thing that is going to help us. I'm working on it all the time now. I'm sure you read a lot, like I read. That's all about for critical thinking. Because with these AI models that we're using now, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they are only as useful as how we prompt them, right? And so the ability to critically think is really the most important thing. So it kind of is, and from that perspective, there's certainly degrees I don't think people should get. Communications, some of these liberal arts programs are not really providing a lot of value, more kind of dogmatic, meaning they're teaching you what to think, not how to think. But this is really kind of, learning is kind of a life journey thing. So I would say, autobiographies are really good. I think if you're interested in what we're talking about, Charlie Munger by Chen Green, Tren, that's a really good place to start with some of the value investing stuff. And my whole thing is if you don't know a word or you don't know terminology, it's all foreign to you, it takes some time, but look up each of those words that you don't know. And then, oh, well, what is it? It's defined by this. Oh, then look at what those definitions are. It takes some time, but it really it doesn't have to be a full-time professional thing. It can be kind of a casual interest. And overnight, we'll see financial literacy improve pretty substantially for somebody. So yeah, at college, I would say it's critical thinking skills. It's learning how to think, not what to think. And that's going to set people up for substantial success amongst their peer group. That's just kind of, going through the motions, don't really care about school. I think getting out and being social is a big thing too. A lot of kids I know are just kind of staying at home and playing video games and, kind of checking out. It's like, go out there, have some beers, have some, fun with your friends, get in the mix and, get rejected by girls, get out in the mix where we're able to, kind of develop some of those social skills. I think is also something that's very helpful, so but you don't have to get it right. Nothing has to be perfect. And that's the thing. I think kids get out of college and they're worried about, well, I need to land the perfect job. It's like, you really don't. Just, get your feet wet, get out there. If it's working, continue. If it's not, pivot to something else. No one really cares. So, and I think it's more about that drive than actually what you do immediately with it. So, yeah.
Let the people know, what did you do coming out, military, having success, and then it's just like, okay, everything is going. And of course, everybody has, hills and valleys. But what do you do to keep your mind from not going crazy or not being so, looking down on people? Because what we find is so many people, okay, you made the money, but a lot of the work we do is mental health work, because that's kind of a background I have. I totally agree with you. Don't go to school for mass comm or political science. I did that. So you don't have to do that. But I was working while, in college. I knew what I wanted to have my company, and I had my company. But I would tell everyone, don't do that, because it's not going to work out for the majority of people right now, especially. But what are you doing? Is it therapy? Is it meditation, prayer, church? Because so many
Yeah,
people struggle with keeping being a sane person.
for sure. I think that's great. Yeah, church for me is definitely a big one. Family goes. I need to go more with them, quite frankly, but we do go, and I think having a Christian centered approach is certainly very helpful. I grew up that way, so I think any kind of Christian teachings that are not necessarily, how do I put this? It's actually the principles of Jesus as opposed to, getting caught up into the politicization of it. I think is something that's important. So definitely, I think, Christ-centered principles are very helpful. As for kind of what's that routine or ritual? I think for me, it's I think, physical fitness is a huge component. It's working out every day, even if you don't want to. And again, I'm saying this as someone who's not perfect doing that, but that can also help out a lot with uh uh, how do I put it? This general on-ramping of mental health, just increasing stabilization. Getting off the screen time is a big one as well. But for me, when we ever have a problem that pops up, I always like the phrase of like closest alligator to the boat, right? What is that biggest immediate problem that I can solve and fix that and then move further out away from there? I think one of the issues we have today, because of social media, there's constant news, screen time coming up and attention getting grabbed by completely different things all the time. And so our attention spans have gone down. I think the ability to kind of move oneself from that and say, hey, I'm going to take a few minutes here where I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm going to go for that run and build kind of those routines. It can help stabilize for sure. And then it allows you to kind of get perspective and be able to look outside of yourself at a problem and attack each one as they come, because we're just getting inundated now more than ever with constant new thing, attention getting pulled here. It's taking that time to sit down and think, structurally about what the next thing to do is. And that is a critical thinking thing as well. So yeah, the military helped me out a lot for that when it comes to regiment and structure. But I think, a decent amount of discipline can do that for you as well. So I know we're talking generally, but I think, those would kind of be where I'd be looking immediately. So
Okay, I just want
yeah,
people to know, because when I tell people,
yeah,
"Hey, I'm going to church," they say it's Monday. I'm going online. I'm going to church.
yeah,
I need church, so you don't know what I did in that car. You don't know who
yeah.
especially here in Florida. You don't pull up on me in certain ways. I get nervous. Like I got issues. But I love this. I know you say you're working on the book, so
Yeah.
you think it'll be ready by 2026. And
Yeah,
how can the people
definitely.
tap in?
For sure. So we'll be pushing it out on the at Jack Campbell Finance. I know we're just getting that started up and running here. So we'll push that out. It's meant to be a very good introduction on things that should have been taught in school then wasn't, and then a little bit more into the framework of what I think is going to occur. Because we have to have a macro view, right? We have to have it's easy enough for, guys to say, hey, I've made it and, do what I did. It's like, well, not necessarily. We need to get the framework right and understanding that this world that is going to change very rapidly over the next 10 to 20 years. And that is both scary and also very exciting because there is opportunity there. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to make, money in their accounts. That's awesome. There's going to be a lot of new cool technologies coming online. Every day we're seeing new things that are coming on. And so, whether you're someone who works a job at a, like a service job right now, and you want to go into software engineering, or you're someone who wants to, I know you're a welder and you're making a lot of money doing that, but you want to get more educated on other things. This kind of worldly wisdom thing is really what we're aiming at, because so much of this stuff with AI is going to help us out if we know how to prompt it correctly. So I think, anything geared at that is going to make people exponentially more efficient, exponentially more knowledge based on their stuff if they know how to use it correctly. So it's just kind of building that framework right now, I think is what's missing. So that's why we'll get the book out here in the next couple of months. So yeah.
Okay, so you guys check the Instagram. Do you do any LinkedIn as well?
That's a good question. So what I found is interesting about this is no, I don't do the LinkedIn. And the reason I don't is because we've had so many I don't know, it's a social media, but it's one of those things where, people are constantly they have asks of me. They assume I have an ask of them if we're connecting. I think what I found is more useful is meeting with someone like this. We meet via an independent person. Okay, cool. We're hopping on the podcast. you know, we have events and we go out and we meet somebody there, and you know, it's oh, no, let's get a phone call going. Let's do a meetup. Let's get coffee next month. You know, things like that. So definitely driven more in person. I found that throughput is a lot more effective. So yeah, LinkedIn is not it for me at all. I get why people have it. It's just something I find that is not the mode of communication I'd want to have. That's just a personal preference though. So
Okay, in other words, I just didn't want people to try to find you. They see, say, hey, maybe this is him, and then you get duped. Even online, even on YouTube, people have all type of spoofed accounts, and I want people to really hone in, because some of this audience, I mean, this is not the biggest audience yet. Hopefully, you guys share and it grows to that.
oh, let's go.
But one thing that I get in my my DMs and my emails, even people from overseas, and they're like, Kellen, wait, can you explain how I can invest in Vanguard and Charles Schwab? And I have to tell them in a way where I say it on the podcast, so it's massive. I'm not giving you financial advice. We do help and advise people in life, but in the finances, like what I put into Vanguard for $5,000 to start versus you'll have to put 25,000 in if you're not in this country. But somebody in Rwanda or someone in Kenya who has their money and says, I want it to grow because my market can go up and down. I tell them, go to Botswana. You look at the market there. No one's asking you questions either. But that's a whole other thing. That's why I don't give advice, because people say, Kellen, I didn't know I could do that. I'm like, I didn't know you could do it either. I don't know. Ask your lawyer and CPA and everybody else. I just, come up with ideas. I get creative, and that's that. Let the people know if you have any plans on doing any, maybe a TED Talk or speaking once the book comes out. And yeah, how can they book you? Is it all going to Instagram?
Yeah, I'd say Instagram for sure. They can definitely find a DM's gonna work as well. I'm gonna build it out more. The main thing for this right now is for me and audience growth or things like that, is there's going to be people who are attracted to these kind of modes of thinking and kind of the way that we discuss things, but it's not for everybody. So for me, if someone says, hey, I don't understand this, or I don't like this, that's good. There's no problem at all. So for me on the speaking stuff, I've talked at a few conferences. There's going to be more of it. I think unfortunately a lot of this is an ageist based industry, right? A lot of the guys and gals that are running the show are in their 50s and 60s, kind of Dave Ramsey style. So for younger guys like us, it's definitely been maybe a little bit of a challenge with social media. As much as it's a tool, it's also something that we can use as kind of leverage to say, hey, listen, there are younger voices in this. We don't have the same pressures that older generation people have, where they say, hey, I'm at a couple $100 million. We meet with guys that are worth centimillion millionaires and higher, and their kind of approach is, hey, Jack, like, I'm set, my kids are set. Like you said earlier, like, even the grandchildren got their trust set up, or the future grandchildren do. And the problem sets that they deal with at that level is yes, it's interesting. And yes, they have obviously interesting lives, but that isn't necessarily attracted to someone who just has maybe 10 grand in their account right now. Our hope is, how do we get that 10 grand into a couple million? Again, we're not calling it financial advice, but it's kind of retooling how we think about money, have a healthier relationship with it. And then pretty quickly, I think, and this has happened for me and how I've grown, and, people I've worked with before, is seeing them go from 50,000 to 500,000. And, there are ways to get up, but it's different for us. Our pathway for our age group is going to be more complicated, but also a lot more rewarding if we do it correctly. So, that I would say reach out on Instagram if you want to. You can definitely DM me, and I'll respond the best I can on it. So we've had a few of those so far, and it's been good. So yeah.
I love it. You said what you said about the grandkids. Usually those guys are like John Morgan. They've already made their money. They're older. I laugh at somebody in their 20s saying, hey, my kids, unborn kids, don't have to work. I'm like, why would you not want your kids to work?
That's weird. Yeah, that's a really weird thing. I agree with you. And it ruins people more than it actually helps them, right? So many of these kids, man, they're the trust fund babies. Now they're 24 years old, don't really have a job, kind of living off their parents. They it's kind of a sad thing. I mean, money can definitely ruin people as much as it can, like, make it for others, so it's a thing.
Yeah. And
for sure.
what's crazy is even if we did the Dave Ramsey thing, somebody would say, look, at 80, 70, I'm going to have 29 million. Now, if you were to die and you had 29 million, if your family knew what to do with that money, now you could have a foundation that will always have money with the right investments. But most people are going to spend it on, the helicopter I was talking about with the
With the guns on it, you know.
with the guns on it. And that I don't know, you're not old enough to remember, but maybe you've seen the video and Axl Rose jumped off the aircraft carrier. Like they're gonna want the aircraft carriers like Axl, that cost a pretty penny with that.
We don't need all that.
Which would be dope to do one time. I've been on an aircraft carrier. It's dope, but I didn't get to jump off of it. But to own it, the upkeep for that, why? Why do we need that? We're not John McAfee.
Absolutely, John McAfee, man. You talk about a character right there, man. That guy's awesome. So funny.
Yes. So I appreciate this. If you could leave the people with any last words, remind them where to find you. I'm going to have all the links in the description wherever you guys experience this. I know most of you are on Podbean and Apple and Spotify, but go over to YouTube, put a voice with a face and share the heavens out of it. But give them the last words and where to find you.
Yeah. So right now it's just gonna be at Instagram at Jack Campbell Finance. But as for just last words, I really think it's you know, it's creating we call like luck opportunities. What we're talking about here is everyone who's made any sense of money, whatever that dollar amount is, that's pretty substantial. We're talking into the millions. Their preparation of whether it's the job they do and doing something that's differentiated where they get paid more for it, or it's that investment that does have that kind of skyrocketing moment. It is preparing oneself for those luck moments. We're not walking around with lottery tickets in our pocket hoping something that can blow up. It's really getting deliberate with our time, getting deliberate with our effort. And if we prepare ourselves enough times, it's not really a question of if we're going to be having the success that we want. We don't know maybe necessarily the scale of it, but it will come. It's not a question of if, it's more of when. And so people who prepare themselves for those, and we talk about this in the book. So if people are interested down the road and when it comes out and we can send it to them, that's awesome. But it really is that preparation is the most important thing. And if you're in the mix there, things are going to be okay. And I'd say that would be probably my parting shot across the bows. It's not just people get lucky and I'm not one of those people. It's like, no, we can prepare ourselves for those moments to occur and think of things differently. So thanks, Callan. That's pretty much all I got on my end.
I love it. And talk about luck. If you guys are in this country, you feel yourself blessed. This is a place where if you don't have money today, you could get some money. There's various ways of doing it, but you're going to probably have to go ask somebody, ask your librarian, ask somebody, ask questions in the comments, whatever it is. But I appreciate that you guys made it to the end. I want you to make sure you like this because they make me say that, and make sure you share this game with somebody because it will change someone's life. You guys be blessed. Thank you.
Thanks, Callan. Appreciate it, brother.
You. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. For sure.
Cool. I want to know when the book comes out. So if Queen is still there, Queenly, I'm gonna tell her I want to know when that book comes out.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stress the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from 𝐾𝐿&𝐾𝐿, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.